It was a crazy weekend of college basketball in the Sun Belt. App State takes the top spot with South Alabama upsetting Troy. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. We put that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. All right, we'll try to go over as much of the baseball as we can, the basketball as we can. It was a great weekend for the Sun Belt and an odd start time. Odd start time on Saturday. All right, probably because of softball and baseball, or at least baseball for sure. Noon starting time. Tip-off between Texas State and the Cajuns. And again, I apologize for not seeing the letdown game standing right in front of me. I was more about Cajuns are tough. They can be a thorn. Texas State just didn't show up. They thought they got everything done, not straight, against South Alabama. South Alabama is the better basketball team, although the Cajuns beat South Alabama as well. And this was 23-9. I saw, and again, Texas State just didn't even bother to show up. They shot 6 for 20 in the second half, 30%. They were 13 of 31 in the second half. That's still only good for 42%. They made 2 of 12 from 3. The Cajuns struggle offensively. Better, have improved, but they are not Arkansas State or what Troy can be sometimes, or even Marshall, or even App State sometimes, or Georgia Southern. But they shot 48%. There's one thing when your shots are not falling. That's one thing. But the Cajuns were 12 of 25 in the first half. 6 of 8 from 3. Come on. They were leading 34-18 at half, and the game's basically over. 10 of 20 in the second half. 3 of 5 from 3. Right? I mean, they shot 9 out. You're not beating anybody who's shooting 9 out of 13 threes. It's just not going to happen. 70% from 3, not going to happen. And that sort of set the tone for the game, or for the day, rather. And so then Texas State, I need the standings in front of me somewhere. So this, Texas State falls. They very well could have been, 11-6, could have been tied for first place if they could have beaten, at the time, the 9-19 Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. Instead, they fall, and now they're sitting in 5th. That's how crazy the Sun Belt is. Win, tie for first. Lose in 5th place. All right. Now, Texas State, like App State, only has one more ball game, and they very well could win that ball game because they're an incredibly good team at home, not so great on the road. And so if Texas State takes down App State, not only does that not guarantee App State necessarily a first place a tie or co-championship. All right. It puts Texas State in that possibility of sharing that. If App State wins, they will do no worse than being co-champions. Whether they're the number 1 seed, that stuff makes my head hurt. We'll let our buddy Kara Ritchie take care of that in Jonesboro. She's very, very good at all of that. But if App State wins, again, they get 12 wins, and nobody can have more than 12 wins. But South Alabama can get 12 wins, Troy can get 12 wins, and Marshall can get 12 wins. So if Texas State wins, then App State may not make it as co-champions. The other 3 can, and the other 3 don't play each other, and the other 3 have incredible, easier schedules, although we just saw what the Cajuns did to Texas State. All right. So what happened after the Texas State loss to the Cajuns is that you had 3 games seemingly all going on at the same time, right? You had Coastal Carolina and Marshall. You had App State And let's see here. App State taking down Georgia Southern. And I think it was Arkansas State and Monroe were going on at the same time. All right. Something along those lines. It felt that way. Or maybe it was just Coastal Carolina and Marshall and App State and Georgia Southern, and that Arkansas State game may have been a little bit later. I think I was at home, and that game was a high-scoring affair. All right. So maybe Marshall and Coastal Carolina, App State and Georgia Southern, they started a little bit after Texas State and Louisiana. Or maybe one of those games was going really quickly and the others weren't. Anyway, Coastal Carolina takes down Marshall 79-75. Good basketball game. But here's where the problem was. First of all, Marshall's defense is an issue. All right. And their offense was not in the second half. It was in the first half. They scored 24 points in the first half, 51 in the second half. All right. And then, they gave up another 79 points in this ball game. You had Wyatt. You had some serious guys who struggled in this one. All right. Eric Harding had 0 points. Wyatt Fricks had 4. Landon Joseph, who led them to the victory earlier in the week, he had 7. Those 3 guys combined for 11 points. All right. Noah Oshuti had 18. Jalen Spear was outstanding. 11 out of 23, 39 points. Talk about carrying the team. He had 39 points. The rest of the team scored 36. Not going to win too many games when that happens. He did hit 13 of 15 free throws. They were 5 out of 20 from 3. And I don't know if they ever had the lead late. Every play that I saw was Coastal was just in control of this ball game from basically the get-go. And it kind of looks that way again. They led at 36-24 at half. And Marshall made a game of it in the second half, but Coastal does hang on. Is Coastal one of those teams that could be a little tricky in Pensacola? I do wonder. All right, so Coastal Carolina beats Marshall. And then you had one more game going on at the same time. You had App State taking down Georgia Southern. Remember, App State just lost to the aforementioned Marshall Thundering Herd on a missed free throw. Ouch. With 0.4 seconds left to go. And so they could be way ahead. They lost at James Madison and they lost at home to Marshall. But they take down Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern had been on a little bit of an offensive explosion in a couple of ball games, or at least in one. They blew out Marshall 101-87. All right. And App State takes down, I guess, what could be termed a dangerous Georgia Southern team and have that possibility. But App State's actual offense showed up in this one, scoring 89 points. That's impressive. They had a good ball game against Georgia Southern, shooting 51% from the floor, 8 out of 25 from 3, and an impressive 29 out of 37 from the free throw line. They wouldn't let Georgia Southern get back in the ballgame. They out-rebounded Georgia Southern, 37-27, 28 offensive rebounds, 28 defensive rebounds, 9 offensive rebounds. They had 20 fast break points to just 2 for Georgia Southern. And they were just good. Georgia Southern was called for 24 fouls versus 13. I'm sure that may be an issue. But they led it most of the way as App State is back in first place with an 89-74 victory over Georgia Southern. So again, App State, I guess, controls their own destiny. That's, again, if you believe in destiny, you're not in control. It's already a sealed fate, right? They have the ability to guarantee themselves a co-championship. It could be with 7 teams. Actually, I guess if they win, it will not be with 7 teams because Texas State will be eliminated. The only way we get to 7 teams is Texas State has to beat App State. If App State wins that ball game, they're co-champion. All right. And because they don't play, I don't think they play until Friday. They don't play until Friday. So it'll be very interesting to see. Excuse me. Did I get that right? Hold on. Correct. They don't play till Friday. So it'll be very interesting to see what kind of pressure is on them. I mean, say Troy loses or South Alabama loses before that. And all of a sudden they got a little bit of breathing room. It'll be interesting how they respond. Whereas if Troy and South Alabama and Marshall both play and win on Tuesday or Wednesday, then App State knows they have to win because those teams could get a 12th win, all right, on Friday. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll talk about that South Alabama and Troy ball game, a little bit Arkansas State as well. It was tremendous defense by Richie Riley's South Alabama Jaguars. I mean, incredible at the end of that ball game. We'll talk about that next, right after I tell you about Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's the stat that says it all. Since I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Excuse me for a second. All right. Getting back to it. All right, so those 3 games happened. Cajuns would win over Texas State, Coastal over a win over Marshall, and App State takes down Georgia Southern. So those 3 games happened. Then the highlight of the day, I guess, if you will, the big matchup of the day. Those other games are important too, I understand it. But the showdown of the weekend was Troy against South Alabama. Troy had already beaten South Alabama earlier this year, and I think it was right after South Alabama had some guys hurt, but nonetheless, still counts. Troy earlier escaping against Monroe, whereas South Alabama did not escape against Texas State. May have been a little bit different if South Alabama was in first place, which they would have been if they had beaten Texas State. And the way this game was going, South Alabama was in control of this ball game for most of the game. But halfway through the first half, they took control, 5, 6, 7 point lead. I'm not sure how big it got. Let me see if I can quickly let me go to the play-by. I don't like the ESPN play-by-play. And the stat package is not nearly as cool on STAA if you don't get it from the get-go. I had it here. So anyways, all seems to be the same thing. So anyways, South Alabama was in charge of this game for most of the game. All right. Absolutely. And all of a sudden, Troy creeps back into it. And I said on the instant recap that they hadn't taken the lead when, in fact, they had. They were down 5 and scored 7 straight ball games or 7 straight points. And that was about it. That's where it ended. Like Cooper Campbell hit a bunch of threes in a row. And just like I'm sure other people are out there saying, you got to get out there and cover them, coach. Get out there and cover them. What are we doing? You got to cover them. But that's not the theory that he goes by. All right. And again, we've spoken about this before. He thoroughly believes that eventually you're going to miss, that it all comes back to the mean. And boy, did it, because Cooper Campbell was outstanding. We talked about how bad Texas State was, or not how bad Texas State was, how incredible Jalen Spear was. Cooper Campbell had 26 points. Troy scored 54. So he had 26. Everybody else had 28. He put this more into perspective, Cooper Campbell made 8 field goals. The rest of the team had 5. That's amazing. So they let him shoot, and eventually he started to miss. And you go to the end, and it is amazing. So it was 49-44. Chase Harris makes a layup, putting South Alabama up by 5 with 9:08 to go. Okay. Victor Valdez hits a pair of free throws. You do get a layup in here by Cooper Campbell, makes it 49-48. Free throw by Campbell as he was fouled on the play. And then you get a couple of free throws by Cooper Campbell, making it 51-49. All right. That's at the 6:34 mark. But the layup was at the 7:09 mark. And the shot he made before that, let me see here. When's the last shot that they made? He made a three-pointer with 10:47 to go. That made it 45-44. All right. And then it was just free throws and that layup the rest of the way. They, in the 10:47 mark, they had a three-pointer and a layup. Everything else was free throws. That's amazing. That's amazing. From the 10:47 mark, when Cooper Campbell hit a three-pointer, they hit one more layup. And the rest of the points was from the free throw line. That's defense. That's amazing. All right. And to be honest with you, sitting in the car and going shopping, that's how I missed them taking the lead. Somehow I missed it by the time I got into the store and out of the parking lot so I wouldn't get hit and put the phone back on. They were up by 6, the Jaguars. I thought Troy was going to win the ballgame. I thought, and I didn't even know they had taken the lead. I thought they were going to pull away. All right. That South Alabama's offense was not getting it done. And then they started getting it done. And it's a tremendous win by Richie Riley. Again, and I know Sang didn't play, but that's not the reason that Troy has just been basically a 500 team over the last 3 to 4 weeks. They had escaped with some close victories, like at ODU and other places, Monroe earlier in the week. But something's not right. Now, with South Alabama, it kind of feels like teams have figured it out. You're going to crash the boards because you can out-rebound them in a big way. They just don't have the size. Whether it's Williams or Randy Brady, they do the best that they can. But that's all the size that they got. All right? And I guess the other guy would be, let's see. Where'd this just go? I just had it. Oh, there it is. would be Adam Olsen. All right. And let's see how many rebounds he grabbed. He grabbed 7 rebounds. All right. He's usually not going to get an offensive rebound because he's the one shooting him from the wing. He's not crashing the boards. Let me see what the rebounding edge was. See what it was. It wasn't all that much. 39-35, Troy with the advantage. But Troy had 15 offensive rebounds to South Alabama's 9. That's the thing. And so Marshall did that to South Alabama. I think App State did that to South Alabama. We're going to crash the boards because we can. All right. We may miss the three-pointer, but look for long rebounds and also get under the basket. And then teams have figured out what Texas State did. You do 2 big guys in there, and you get one guy at the high post, dump it down to the low post. Who you're guarding, right? And so that's an issue. But that's a great win by South Alabama, putting themselves right back in there. Remember, they were co-champions last year, the number 1 seed. They're probably going to need some help. They're going to need, for South Alabama to win this by themselves, they're going to need App State to lose and Marshall to lose. I'm not sure how they would do it with Troy with 12 wins each. Then my head is really going to explode because they split. So then you figure out the teams after that, and that's where South Alabama is going to lose a tiebreaker because they lost to App State. They lost to Marshall. That's going to be a problem. They split with Texas State, but that's going to be a problem down the stretch. So we'll see. I'm not sure if it matters. You certainly you don't want to be losing too many tiebreakers because you want to be in the top 2, right? Now, they were in the top 1 last year and didn't win. So we'll see if that changes. We'll see if that changes. All right, elsewhere, let's continue with the basketball just to put a bow on it for now. And so let's see what else we have. Okay. We didn't talk about Arkansas State. They had a nice no letdown game, although their defense was lacking. Certainly an entertaining ball game, 102-94 to Monroe. Maybe Arkansas State has all of a sudden found some things. Maybe that's the team offensively I was talking about. They put 103 up. I mean, listen to these scores. They put 91 up against Bowling Green, 103 against Monroe. They lost to South Alabama in a ball game they probably should have won. They scored 88. They beat the Cajuns, putting up 79 against a really good defensive squad in Louisiana, and 102 points against Monroe. Monroe put up some points as well, but nonetheless, again, I think this Arkansas State was generally in control of this ball game. Quickly, just to see who played well or scored some points. Arkansas State really balanced scoring. I mean, 7 guys in double figures. Joey Chama with 10 for 10 from the free throw line in 23 minutes off the bench. He scored 21 points. That's awesome. But you had Tunkara with 10 points, Harmon with 14 points, Heyman with 10 points, Chandler Jackson with 10 points. Remember, Chandler Jackson had like 21 points against the Cajuns in the first half. Ellingsworth had 13. TJ Caldwell had 17. Christian Lewis, another big ball game, 33 points. How often do you see 2 guys in the same game 10 for 10 from the free throw line? Christian Lewis, 10 for 10 from the free throw line. Chama, 10 for 10 from the free throw line. Let's see who else scored well. Lavelle Broadnax had 14 points, and MJ Russell had 16. Saunders comes off the bench and scores 19 for Monroe. All right, and again, Arkansas State just could be one of those scary teams. They may have to play one too many games by the time they get to the championship, but if they're scoring at that kind of clip, and I know their 2 100-point games just came against ULM, I get that. I understand that. But when you're putting in those kind of points, and they were 14 out of 33 from 3, that's just a lot. They made 17 twos and 14 threes and 26 out of 31 from the free throw line. That's a tough spot to overcome for anybody. Let's see where else we got here. And then Southern Miss beats Old Dominion 86-81. And JMU, trying to position themselves in a good spot in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, they beat Georgia State 80-65. JMU's all of a sudden won 5 in a row. I mean, goodness. They've taken themselves off the roller coaster, longest winning streak of the year. That was after losing at Southern Miss and to the Cajuns. They had beaten Troy and beaten Texas State and then laid a couple of eggs. And now they've beaten Toledo, Georgia State, App State, Coastal, and Georgia State. All right, not necessarily the top echelon, although App State and Coastal certainly belong in there. App State's leading the conference, and Coastal's right in the thick of things. JMU's get Georgia Southern, and they finish up with Coastal. So it'll be interesting how that goes. All right, that's the bow for basketball. I knew this episode was going to be a little bit extended. That's okay. Let's talk baseball when we come back. Southern Miss with a weekend sweep. We'll talk about that after I tell you about Mazda and FanDuel. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. Let's give it up to App State. Had a couple of tough losses and it rebounded and put themselves in a position at the very minimum to be co-champions of the Sun Belt. Coming up with a nice win over Georgia Southern after a heartbreaking loss, losing to Marshall at home by missing the second of 2 free throws with 0.4 seconds left to go. These remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put the same position in every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. But there's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. And FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA's Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole shebang. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of the year, whether it's picking a team to win the NBA championship or MVP. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick win you cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports book, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Baseball, second weekend in. The midweek hasn't been very good. It was a pretty good weekend for the Sun Belt. Sunday may not have been as good as the other 2 days, but it was a pretty good day. And we gotta give it up to Southern Miss. They had a fantastic weekend. They are now 6-1. They beat Purdue 5-4. They knocked off Oregon State, the 12th ranked Beavers, 9-4, and they beat Baylor 5-1 to wrap that up. That's a great job by Southern Miss, and it'll be interesting because those RPIs aren't very high. When Southern Miss played them, Purdue is 111, Oregon State 82, and Baylor 145. But those could all go up, right? Especially Baylor and Oregon State, if they're any good. Those will go up, and that is a huge, huge deal for Southern Miss. Right now, for what it's worth, Southern Miss is sitting 7th in Warren Nolan's RPI. Interesting. They got the 19th hardest schedule, but those other teams are not ranked very high in his RPI. So it's interesting how that is the case. All right. So great job by Southern Miss, off to a tremendous start, and it doesn't get any easier. They got Alabama this week. They got Louisiana Tech, and they got Mississippi State coming in. Coming in, right? Mississippi State's coming to Hattiesburg. So this is all over the next week or so. Alabama's on Tuesday. They are at Louisiana Tech, and that's important because that's on the road, not neutral. They're playing in Ruston, and that is a huge series for both those teams, all right? Because Louisiana Tech is 7-1, could have been 8-0. They're off to a great start. This is a great mid-major matchup early on in the season that could have, I don't know how good Louisiana Tech is supposed to be, but this could have absolutely hosting. And if it gets that far, maybe national seed. All right. A long way to go. I get it. But don't you think Southern Miss fans aren't thinking that? Go into La Tech and take 2 out of 3, and you're sitting really pretty. Okay. Elsewhere, well, let's just go to the Cajuns because it feels like it was 2 different weekends. They did not look good at all against Missouri State. And for what it's worth, in Warren Nolan's rankings, Missouri State is 5th in RPI for what that's worth. Okay. Do I got that right? Hold on. Of course. Frozen up on me. Anyways, I got it. Okay. We're going to exit the page. All right. So the Cajuns, absolutely 2 different weekends. Let me make sure I get this. Now I'm on basketball. Now we're back to baseball. Okay. So, Missouri State is right there. And, they played the Cajuns. They lost all 3 games to Ole Miss. So I don't understand why they are where they are outside of Ole Miss is, nationally ranked. Having said that, the Cajuns sweep Maryland and all of a sudden have won 5 in a row. They took the final game from Missouri State, shuts out Rice. Maryland's bullpen melts down on Friday night in a 6-3 ball game. 2 walks, 2 singles, and a hit batter. All right. I'm not sure what Maryland's bullpen was doing then. Having said that, both bullpens were ridiculous on Sunday in a 15-inning ball game. Maryland tied it up in the 7th. They basically played another, 8 innings after that, right? And the Cajuns take it in walk-off fashion. Rodriguez with a RBI single, making it a 6-5 series sweep for the Cajuns. Maryland is not ranked all that high. Maybe they'll get higher based on who they're going to be playing, of course. But now the Cajuns getting Kansas State on Friday, on a Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I'm going to be in Louisiana for that UC San Diego game. And again, just to give you what, these standings are, UC San Diego is 2-4, I believe, right now. And then they took down UCLA. Let me see where they are. They are, they have an RPI of 90, so they have fallen. Okay. All right. And then Wednesday is LSU, everyone's favorite rivalry down there. And that's in Lafayette. So that's big. So, you got Kansas State, you got UC San Diego coming in, you got LSU. By the way, Dallas Baptist, they were swept this past weekend. The Cajuns are going to Dallas Baptist. And so the Cajuns got a shot at putting themselves in a really good spot before they open up conference play. How about that? Against South Alabama. Really good spot. If they can, split against Kansas State, win 2 out of 3 against San Diego. Can you beat LSU? And can you somehow avoid the sweep, if not take 2 out of 3 from Dallas Baptist? All right. So they're in a good spot. All right. Speaking of South Alabama, they had a good weekend, except they lost on Sunday in a ball game they probably should have won. They lost 7-6 against College of Charleston. They won the series, though. So South Alabama is off to a tremendous start. Not a particularly good day for Coastal Carolina. They got embarrassed 14-5 against Illinois, but they did bounce back with a 6-3 win over VCU. Troy did not have a good ball game, and Troy is off to a rough start, 3-4 early on. They got embarrassed by Campbell 13-1 on Sunday. Arkansas State is 5-2 with a 9-2 win over Eastern Illinois. App State 6-1 with a 9-8 win over Southern Illinois. Marshall 2-4. Navy takes down the Thundering Herd 8-1. Georgia State is 6-2. They beat Louisville's own Bellarmine 18-8. Troy actually got Troy split with Campbell. Sorry about that. Troy split with Campbell, lost 13-1 and won 8-4. Monroe gets their third win of the year. They take down New Orleans 9-1. We mentioned Southern Miss beats Baylor 5-1. Texas State 5-0 over Gonzaga, and they're 5-2 on the season. Georgia Southern is an issue. Georgia Southern is 0-7. They got to turn. They got to figure something out. They got swept by South Florida. They have to figure out something rather quickly. So let me see if I can find the Sun Belt's schedule this week, because we talked about Southern Miss having a great opportunity, and the Cajuns with a good opportunity. Let's see what's coming up this week. All right. So big schedules on a Tuesday. You got Virginia Tech at James Madison. That's big. Arkansas State is taking on Arkansas in Fayetteville. Georgia State's going up against Georgia Tech. Good luck. Southern Miss is hosting Alabama. We talked about that. And the Cajuns have Kansas State. South Alabama is hosting Tulane on Wednesday. And then looks to be a bunch of mid-major matchups this weekend. James Madison is going to go play a series against College of Charleston. Southern Miss seems to be the biggest weekend series. They're at Louisiana Tech. Can the Cajuns take down UC San Diego? All right, that'll be big. And how about Coastal Carolina going to go play is that a weekend series against Texas, or they may be in a tournament this weekend. All right, that may be a tournament. They're playing Texas in Houston, so that may be a tournament. But we'll see how the Sun Belt does. All right, this is the one sport where we know you get a couple of teams in. Can Coastal Carolina hang around long enough for Cam Fluke to come back, Ryan Lang to come back, Hayden Jensen to come back, right? Because Dominic Carbone ain't coming back. No, that's too bad. And they are off to a little bit of a shaky start. All right, a little bit of a shaky start. Can't win them all. That's not what baseball is all about. But a little bit of a shaky start. All right. We will have obviously an episode on Tuesday. We'll talk more about baseball and start previewing basketball, because we got games on Tuesday and Wednesday. I am traveling Wednesday morning. We're going to go from freezing temperatures, hopefully down to 70s in South Louisiana. We'll be in Lafayette Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Probably will be at the Corner Bar and among other places. And then we're going to Baton Rouge to see Northeastern take on LSU. And I'm not sure Northeastern has won a game this year either. They have struggled out of the gate after being one of the great stories of the year last year. So, but nonetheless, it'll be fun to see my guy, Mike Lavin. All right. Everybody have a great Monday. All right. As Mondays go. Again, I don't get weekends off, so I don't know what day it is, but I hope you had a good weekend. Obviously, it started off with the tough news with Wes Rucker. Tough to find a bright side and all that, but the way the community, the Vows community and the sports media community came together, well over $600,000 raised for the family. So that is makes life a little bit easier for their family. So it's a great job by everyone who did that. And then it wrapped up with, on a much lighter note, Team USA taking down Canada. That was spectacular. I guess Canada had dominated the second and third periods. I see most of the first, kind of missed the second and third. Saw the overtime, and 3-on-3 overtime is kind of ridiculous, right? It really is a gimmick. But you can kind of see it. And I don't know what you call it. Just, I know controlling the puck, but I thought that was a great catch on the stick by Jack Hughes. I mean, didn't bobble it, nothing. Controlled it, wrist shot. Wasn't a one-timer. It was a good catch. And, just one time to pass the goalie, and Team USA wins the hockey. So that was a great way to wrap up the weekend. All right. Thanks for all the support. Really do appreciate it. We will talk to you again tomorrow. All right. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Monday, everybody, and a good week. And we'll talk to you again on Tuesday.